Hello, America. I'm Mark Levin, and this is Life, Liberty, and Levin. This is a very serious program tonight, as they all are, but this is especially important. The Department of Justice has become the rogue operation of the federal government under Joe Biden and his Attorney General Merrick Garland. It is controlled by the Democrat Party and the radical left. And I have to tell you, as somebody who served there for many years, first as Associate Deputy Attorney General, then as a Deputy Assistant Attorney General, then as Special Assistant to the Attorney General, then finally Chief of Staff to the Attorney General, in my view, the greatest Attorney General, Edwin Meese. This department is destroying America. It's destroying the 2024 election. It's violating every norm, every tradition, everything it inherited to ensure that that department could be trustworthy and could be reliable. But it has criminalized politics. And I want to say this. If we don't break the back of the Department of Justice, and I will explain what I mean in a moment, it will destroy this country. And we won't be able to claw our way back. This is not hyperbole. I'm not trying to be provocative. I don't need to be. Now here, let's start. CNN. Exclusive. Special counsel prosecutors question witnesses about chaotic Oval Office meeting after Trump lost the 2020 election. Multiple sources told CNN. Stick with me. CNN. Former Trump campaign official cooperating with special counsel in 2020 election interference probe. Sources familiar with the matter told CNN. CNN. Exclusive. Rudy Giuliani interviewed in special counsel's 2020 election interference probe. Who says so? Multiple sources familiar with the meeting. New York Times. Prosecutors sought records on Trump's foreign business deals since 2017. Who says? Two people familiar with the matter. New York Times. Investigation of Trump documents case continues after his indictment. Who says? According to people familiar with the matter. Washington Post. Justice Department asking 2020 fraud claims as well as fake electors. Who says? According to people familiar with the matter. Who do these leaks help? Do they help Donald Trump? Do they help a single witness? It's the federal government. It is the Biden Department of Justice. It is the Democrat Party's Department of Justice that's interfering in the election and trying to do many other things. Look, I asked my brothers and sisters over at Landmark Legal Foundation, of which I am chairman, I said, go back about 6 months and pull up all the leaks from the New York Times and Washington Post and CNN involving Donald Trump. Here it is. Look at this. You see this? These are the leaks from grand juries to witnesses to Mar-a-Lago to the nature of the classified documents, leak after leak after leak, and I limited it to CNN, the New York Times, and the Washington Post. Look at this. What are they doing? What are they? Oh, don't jerk around the Department of Justice, the former Attorney General says. Who's jerking who around here? Is this how you run a case? Is this how you have a judiciary in the country that sits there and rubber stamps every damn thing? Look at this. This isn't intended to be a real case. Here's the ABA rules, special responsibilities for a prosecutor, Rule 3.8. And I cut through to the chase. The prosecutor in a criminal case shall, except for statements that are necessary to inform the public of the nature and extent of the prosecutor's action and that serve a legitimate law enforcement purpose, refrain from making extrajudicial comments that have a substantial likelihood of a heightening public condemnation of the accused and exercise reasonable care to prevent investigators, law enforcement personnel, employees, or other persons assisting or associated with a prosecutor in a criminal case from making an extrajudicial statement that the prosecutor would be prohibited from making. Let me ask you a question. The prosecutor hasn't come out and said, this would be Jack Smith. Look, we see there's all these leaks. I'm taking it upon myself to do an investigation. Not a single judge that's been involved in these cases on their own. And they have the power to do it, say, wait a minute. You can't do this to a defendant or a would-be defendant. You can't do this because you violate their Fifth and Sixth Amendment rights. You can't have a jury a jury that's objective. And the goal of the leaking is to make sure they don't have a jury that's objective anywhere in the United States of America. Enormous quantity of leaks, an entire pattern, grand jury leaks, leaks about witnesses, or even the nature of classified information by the government, even in its public filings, but even more in its leaking. Prosecution's litigation strategies leaked, secret filings with the district court on attorney-client privilege and the crime fraud exception, leaked. Who's receiving subpoenas for what? Leaked. Trump's business dealings, leaked. You've got a pattern on this document case. You've got a pattern on the January 6th matter. It is unmistakable. It's unequivocal. All roads go through the Department of Justice. All roads go through Jack Smith's office, the special counsel, who to me ain't so special. Now, the Trump lawyers need to wake the hell up and do something about this. Number one, you've got a constant pattern of leaks benefiting the prosecution and the government. A constant pattern of leaks. Number two, the Department of Justice has its own standards, in addition to the ABA, relating to attorney professional misconduct related to law enforcement investigations. Number three, I just cited to you the ABA, American Bar Association Rule 3.8, a prosecutor's responsibility. Oh, it's not me. That's not the point. You run the operation. Number four, tainting the jury pool with these constant leaks, leaks of confidential information, leaks about contents of classified information, leaks about witnesses, leaks about testimony, leaks about secret government filings. And intentionally, the goal here is to deny Donald Trump and others due process under our Constitution. So a motion needs to be filed on behalf of Donald Trump, and I'm saying this publicly. They need to move the court to order the Office of Professional Responsibility. I know this for a fact. That's the office that is asked to investigate allegations or possibilities even of attorney misconduct or employee misconduct within the Department of Justice. They need to be directed by a court, by the judge in Florida who's under attack. They're trying to intimidate her, no doubt. But she needs to be as brave as this guy, Judge Dowling, in Louisiana, which we'll get to in the next segment. Be as brave as this man. He sees tyranny, and he tries to stop it, and he speaks up about it. The judge in Florida, she needs to order OPR to conduct an investigation into the special counsel's office to determine if the Department of Justice, particularly the special counsel and his staff, have violated these rules and have undermined the Constitution. And also, they ought to be very specific. Look at texts, emails, information of that sort, phone calls, all of it, to see if Donald Trump's due process rights have been violated under the Fifth Amendment. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process. And the Sixth Amendment, public trial by an impartial jury. Here we have a former president of the United States who's running for a second term and is the leading Republican candidate to run against the sitting president who oversees this Department of Justice and is investigating him, charging him, and leaking against him, not just for purposes of influencing a trial, but for purposes of influencing the election. All of the leaks, all of them, are intended to undermine the basic constitutional rights and interfere with the 2024 election. In fact, the media do polls. Oh, how's this leak going to affect the election? Oh, how's this indictment going to affect the... Oh, and we still have Georgia. No, we still have January 6th. It's all about criminalizing politics. Prosecutorial leaks also damage the judiciary, the courts. Now, these Obama judges in Washington, D.C. don't give a damn. The ends justifies the means. But the judge in Florida should give a damn when a prosecutor's running amok through the judicial system. And there's more than enough justification for this investigation. The Department of Justice does leak investigations all the time. And this is the biggest leak and series of leaks in the history of the United States against a former president who's running for re-election for a second term against the people, I would argue, who are doing the leaking. The motion to the court and the court's order should ask the OPR to, among other things, secure the emails, secure the texts, secure any messages, phone records from Special Counsel Smith, his entire prosecutorial and investigative staff, to determine whether they've been leaking. Because there sure as hell is an appearance of it, and find the source of the leaks. The court should give OPR 30 days, not a year and a half, 30 days to complete the investigation, issue its public findings to the court. And maybe we'll find that the Department of Justice and Mr. Smith and his people have absolutely clean hands. What do you think? Do they have something to hide? Yeah, they have a lot to hide. And frankly, the court should have already done this. And frankly, the Department of Justice, if there was a real Department of Justice, would have already done this. So the necessity for the court order is to protect the entire system, to protect the judiciary and the court itself, and to protect the political process from a rogue administration. I want to remind you that Jack Smith's history of abusing the law is long, including in the case we've talked about with Republican former governor in Virginia, Bob McDonnell, including with John Edwards in North Carolina. This man cuts corners. That's why he was chosen. We see the Dorn report, evidence of widespread corruption at the FBI and DOJ against Republicans and for Democrats. You see this fantastic judge, Terry Doughty, what he's found when he did a serious review of the facts on the record and issued his order. You saw the Twitter files, what the Biden administration is doing. You've seen how they treat FBI whistleblowers. You see how they treat IRS whistleblowers. The Republicans in the House, you need to step up too. You've been doing a good job. The Senate under McConnell and Schumer, forget about it. In the House, A.G. Garland, accused of lying under oath, committing perjury by not one but multiple former IRS officials. He needs to be impeached. Impeachment inquiry with an investigation, and have the full review of what this Attorney General has been doing as, in my view, the mob lawyer for the Biden administration. He still hasn't appointed a special counsel to investigate Joe Biden. How much do you need? How much do you need? You need the fingerprints and the DNA? U.S. Attorney David Weiss, who just thumbed his nose at a House Oversight Committee and said, no, I'm not going to provide you with any information about what I've been doing in relation to Garland and so on. I have absolute power. We have 6 people who say he doesn't. He just thumbed his nose. He needs to be held in contempt. Weiss needs to be held in contempt. I don't care that Trump appointed him. He reports to Merrick Garland. Jack Smith, you folks in the House, you need to investigate him for his conduct. And among other things, in addition to what I said, and anybody in the world is welcome to my stack of articles, they're public record, another piece by the great Will Scharf, who's running for Attorney General of Missouri, and he points out Trump's co-defendant in this case, the document case, is Walt Natal, a Navy valet who served in Trump's White House and who remained a personal aide to Trump after he left office. Several weeks ago, Natal's lawyer, a distinguished, highly regarded Washington attorney named Stanley Woodward, leveled accusations against senior members of the Department of Justice, including Department of Justice Counterintelligence Chief Jay Bratt, who's been quoted in the media, who's now a part of the special counsel Jack Smith's team of prosecutors. According to news reports, Woodward claimed in a sealed letter to the D.C. District Chief Judge James Boasberg, appointed by Obama, that in a meeting to discuss Natal's case, Bratt indicated that Woodward's application to be a D.C. Superior Court judge, this is the lawyer for the defendant, could be impacted if he could not get his client to testify against Trump. That should blow this whole case completely out of the water. Now, if we don't push back against this tyranny, it's going to devour us. It's going to consume us. I'm not overstating the case. I'm speaking as somebody who has over 40 years' experience in the law, whether it's at the Department of Justice, in the private sector, at Landmark Legal Foundation. I know tyranny when I see it, and I see it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.